it fantastic is obviously a different skill set. You know, you think about how trading has changed so much over the years. I started in a funny colored coat, jumping up and down and yelling and screaming. and it was wonderful. I loved everything about it. And you know, I've been fortunate to know many people. You're going to talk to Tom Sosnoff later today, Scott Sheridan. You know, some of the guys I work with the guy Steve Quirk, who's now in Robinhood. I work with some really smart people, and we learned from each other. And it's really helped make the transition into this completely different. And so now you have a whole generation that's never seen the trading floor. They have so many different skills. They look at the world differently. But again, I think the biggest thing you can continue to do as a leader is to say, how can I learn from you as much as you're learning from me? I can bring you experience of situations. You can help me learn how to be more technical, and what I mean by technical is not necessarily technical type trading, but how do I use technology better? You know, when I started trading, as I said, it was people jumping up and down, yelling and screaming. I started in a pit called the OEX. At the time, it was the largest pit in the world. There were 600 people in there. And and only about 10% would make it more than 6 months. So once you hit the 6-month mark, you showed you could stop losing money. And by the way, I think that's a theme you'll hear me talk a lot about, is defining your risk, learning how to not lose money, and the making money will take care of itself. But, you know, it's intimidating, right? Nobody wants you in there because you're one more mouth that's trying to get fed, and you got to get used to your own voice, etc. What I will say, first of all, it was very male. There were so few females at the time. I think there might have been 5 females in the pit, and they were tough and smart women. And what I will say is the people who were in there had a background in something where they were competitive. They were athletes. They were great at backgammon. They were great at bridge. They might have been, you know, competing in whatever it was. It was the best competition you could imagine every single day. And that's, as the market still is, the market keeps you humble is the thing I love the most about it. If you think you're smarter than the market, it's very happy to remind you. But then, you know, where I think a lot of us, and I went through the same thing, there was a year or two of real soul searching of, you know, what's next? You don't think you really have that many skills as a pit trader. And I was there for 21 years, and, you know, Tom and Scott had started Thinkorswim, so I went to work there in 2006. And all of a sudden you realize I ran education. I loved it. I loved teaching people. And as my career progressed, I took so many different roles there. I helped run the Thinkorswim platform for, you know, the last 8 years before I left there. I got involved in government relations, got involved in an advisory firm. It was just so fun to do all these different things. And to your point, I think our education particularly, we really helped to transform some of the industry, something we still believe in today. Tasty Live, we broadcast, you know, 15 hours every single day, live, great content starting in the UK, going to Singapore every single day with the US in between. And so I think what's really been the big transition, there's been a couple of big things that has made retail so, in my opinion, powerful. Number one, the education's amazing. It's free in most cases, in the US particularly, and people can really learn. We want you to succeed because without you succeeding, us and our competitors, they do too, we don't have businesses. Number two, the costs have come down so much. It's free to trade a stock in most cases. I mean, it's really incredible to think when I started in this business, people were paying $100 in commissions to buy an option. Now it's free. It really has, you know, leveled the playing field in so many ways. And the last thing is the platforms. You sitting at home have so much more information on a daily basis than I ever had in the pit. The difference was and still remains that pros know how to define risk and know how to continue to put themselves in a situation where they don't get smacked. They don't put on a position that goes and be like, I have to be right. You're wrong a lot. Just say I'm wrong, move on. And when you're right, and it's something people don't normally bring up, and I love it. And the reason I love it is this. I stood next to the same people almost every day. You know, being a big person helped. The guy who stood on my right had played professional football. He was a big man. The guy stood on my left is still down there. He's 6'7", and so he's a big dude also. But and all the people around you were usually the same. You stood in the same spot every day. but you knew more about them than their wives and children. There was no question. You knew everything about each other because you're standing there from 8:30 till 3:15 every day. It's not always crazy. There are down times, and so you just talk. But that's the biggest thing that I think. You got to run ideas. Even people you didn't necessarily like them, but they were smart. So you could run ideas, and they'd rip your ideas. But it made you think. You'd say, I want to buy whatever stock it might be. As an example, I'll just say Apple, just for easing. So many people have that in position. Like, why would you buy Apple? Their demand's going down in China. And somebody else, no. So you would literally end up in arguments in the pit about individual equities. I think that's why, the Reddit phenomenon came. I think that's why what you're doing is so important for people, because it's not that, you need anyone's opinion, but what it's going to do is it's going to make you think. And hey, this person bought this up. Let me go look and see if this is actually legitimate. And so I think just having that, bouncing of ideas, or you might hear someone else talk about an idea. You're like, I never thought about that stock. I never thought about that. They may talk about the derivative play, not derivative in options, but this company is good. Who's their supplier? Maybe I should be looking at the supplier. And so again, that is, I think, a really important element for traders to find their forum, if you will, that you don't even have to participate as much, but what makes you think. And I believe that one of the reasons we've been successful in education and content is not just we're saying, well, this is how it works. We're like, well, let's think about this. Why does this make sense? Why doesn't this make sense? Let's talk about probabilities. One of the things I've learned, the average person who's making an effort is smarter than they're ever given credit for. Way smarter than they're ever given credit for. And people want to be challenged. And if you challenge people and you give them ideas to think, it's good for you and it's good for them.
I couldn't agree more. And I think almost like there's a lot of traders out there in isolation, and they don't know any better, and I think maybe believe that putting themselves out there, they can be judged, they can ask the wrong question. That's normally how you hear in school. Raise your hand if you have a question. There's no such thing as a dumb question. I think that mentality, for some reason, even if we get older and even if we're in the markets and we are confused or we want more information, there's still that reluctancy I see within the independent trader for some reason.
Well, here's what I would say to that, and you experience this all the time, I'm sure. I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of media, et cetera, throughout my career. How many times do you open things and it's like, you're an idiot, why would you say that? Blah, blah. If you listen to what people say on social media calling you an idiot, you'd never do anything. It's like, who cares what those people think? People get caught up, and I'll call it the teenager syndrome. Like, it's not cool, so I can't do it. So I don't want people to see me. And I think you're bringing this up, but a really important thing. Who cares? At the end of the day, you are always going to have critics. Or as long as you're being nice to the people you meet, you're trying to do the right thing. Who cares about the naysayers? And you have to get over that. And one of the things I like about most traders, there is a level of confidence that goes with being a trader. You have to have humbleness, but you have to have a level of confidence above anything. You're putting yourself out there every time you make a trade. So who cares what your questions are talking to you? I'll talk to your new traders first. Okay. So the new traders who are watching the show, and first of all, I think it's great that you are. Riz does a great job. You're going to have to find what works for you. And I think what makes people successful over time is, I guess I'll say, a system. You get yourself, you can try other things, but try them small. Find out what it is that works for you. And the way to find it out, by the way, is trading really small to start. You can have enough pain and suffering in one contract as you can have in 100. So start with one, continue to learn, then you can always become a bigger trader. But what ends up happening is you start to get a system and say, okay, I found my risk area that works for me. I found the type of trading I like to do. And you put the probabilities, obviously trading options, my life is about probabilities. Put the probabilities in your favor and you continue to play the system, if you will, consistently. The first time you say to yourself, this time is different, you may as well follow that sentence with, it's the most money I'm ever going to lose. That will be the only difference. So when you're like, oh, this one can't lose, you may as well just flush money down the toilet, because that's what's happening. I will say that, it goes back to what I just said. I like to define my risk on trades, use a lot of spreads, etc. But the market, I mess around when I educate people and I say the market has one job, it has to screw each and every one of us individually somehow every day. And it is joking, but the market has an amazing ability to take you to your point of maximum pressure, which is why I do like to define it. You get that sick feeling in your stomach like you want to throw up, but if you don't get it for a while, you kind of miss it. But I would say that the trades that I've had where it's like, oh my God, this is really, really got me down. Those end up often turning out well, but I think the reason it's happened for me is because I've always defined my risk, and I just feel like if you say, here's the worst possible thing that can happen up front, it does help you when you're right at that point. You're like, well, it can't get worse, but I'm gonna vomit every time I speak. Really important, I think a few things have to happen. Well, one of the things, you're gonna talk to Tom Sosnoff later today. Tom has a much different risk tolerance than I do. His is much larger than I do. I'm very comfortable saying that. I'm very comfortable with that because in my risk tolerance, I can make money. If I try his risk tolerance, I won't make money. Because I will talk about the point of no return. Every time max return, or max pain, I should say. Every time I'm taking there, I'll make a bad decision because I've been trading too big. So what I would say to how important is the system? The system is, I know how much risk I want to take on any trade or any series of trades. And so because of that, I don't get myself outside of that. And so I think that's part of me, my system, is to know that going in and then say, okay, what trades fit into that? What trades, being old now, one of the things that you get in experience is, okay, I've seen this volatility picture before, et cetera. What trades do I think have the best probability of working in the times I've seen this before? But I'm not going to lose my mind. I'm going to put them into my risk tolerance, and there becomes my system. There are also going to be times where I'm like, I just don't, it's choppy. There's no real, one of the things that, again, those, to your point earlier, sitting at home by themselves, occasionally you're going to have to say, right now I don't see an opportunity. It's middle of the day, we're bouncing back and forth, there doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason. Don't trade to trade.
Did you ever find yourself falling into the trap of trying to replicate traders with higher risk profile?
Sure, absolutely. I think almost every, I'm going to guess you have, I'm going to guess almost everybody watching has done that. We're like, well, they're making it look so easy. Why wouldn't I do it? Because they got there through trial and error. They got there through understanding the risk tolerance. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't try different things, or you see somebody successful, they do a system, try it. But try it with one contract, less than 100 shares, small. Start perfecting it. If you think you got something, be nuts, go to 2 contracts. Then have success, go to 4 contracts. But again, work your way up the ladder. Don't go in head first. I can't stress that part enough because it's one of the biggest mistakes I see people make. They trade too big. And I would say, almost everybody I know who's had success over time has been really small to start. And again, being humble about it when you start and saying, I just don't know, and I'm trying to figure this out. One of the things I love about the trading community, I think most people genuinely want to help each other. Because just because I win doesn't mean you have to lose. Especially with options, with futures, which people are laying stuff off all over the place. And so what I would say is, to your point earlier, don't be afraid to ask the questions, because at the end of the day, yes, you're going to get somebody who criticizes you, whatever. I guarantee they've never made a trade. But people who actually trade, people who have done this, are like, I want to help you because this is the greatest thing in the world. And those of us who have been fortunate enough to be involved with it for so long want everyone to have an opportunity. And it grows the pie, and hopefully it grows people's wealth. Yeah. And it's really it's an amazing thing that's happening here, and to see so many people become involved who are young. It's interesting, 6-7 years ago, I would sit in these meetings, in the industry meetings, and our biggest problem would be, how do we get young people interested in the markets? Well, we didn't think they'd all come in the same month. But that all said, now it's how do we help people understand that the meme stock craze doesn't happen every day. I mean, the volumes have been sick. We went through a long time where this didn't happen. And so what you're really trying to do now is say, okay, for the next phase, how do we help continue to prepare you? How do you go from being somebody who, to your point, was just doing 0 DTEs? What are you doing for your longer term also? I love the fact that people are trading. When you're young is the time to take some risk. You have a lot of time to make it up. But at the same time, in the back of your mind, you should be thinking, what else do I have to help me long term? Greatest things you can do, it challenges you on every single level. And I believe most people have a competitive spirit in them. And there is nothing more competitive than you against the entire world. You against, and more importantly, you against yourself. And just like, you know, a lot of people who work out, whatever, one of the big challenges I think of working out is having the discipline to get up every morning or go every night and do it. So it's you against yourself, but you also have this competitive element that the smartest people in the world are there. It's why we also talk about trading where everybody else is trading. I always want to be the smallest fish in the biggest pond because I want incredible liquidity. And so with that, it's a passion because, you know, quick background, I'm the youngest of 8 children. My parents are immigrants from Ireland, and my 3 oldest sisters were born in Ireland, and the 5 youngest were born here. My parents were smart, but they weren't educated. My father had a 3rd grade education because he had to go work his family farm when his father died. My mom had to go take care of her siblings when her mother died when she was in 5th grade. So they were not educated people, but they were very smart people. They worked their tails off. And so now it's like, I'm getting this opportunity to, you know, make money that my dad could never dream of and do things my parents never dreamed of. So I want to see the rest of the world do that. It doesn't matter where you're from, whatever. If you're smart, you put in the time, you put in the discipline, this can be an incredible, incredible journey for you. You also have the opportunity to be your own entrepreneur, to try and go work for somebody else. There's just so much here that's great. Or if you're somebody who just trying to, if we can help you understand a covered call so you can enhance your return for your retirement, and that's all you do for the rest of your life. Awesome, good for you, you made some more money. So everything about it excites me because too often I think finance gets at everybody's in it for themselves, blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the day, you're competing, so you're trying to make money for yourself. But the most exciting part about it is you truly can help other people. And it's not a way people think of trying to help other people, but I feel great when I see somebody and they're like, oh my God, you said something 2 years ago and a light bulb finally went off. How can you not feel good about that?